Wednesday, November 17th, and we've got another prospect episode. First time it was with Jack. Now got my other co-host here, Peter Apple, and of course I had to cater it right towards you. We're talking Yankees prospects. We're talking Matt Olson trade again because it's getting closer and closer, and we'll mix in a little bit of Arizona Fall League update as well. But Peter, I had to spoil you. We're going to talk a little Yankees today, and I'm excited to talk about this system as I get ready to write it up.
Is it bad? And I keep saying this over and over again. Jack and I did free agency stuff, and I was like, this is my favorite stuff, giving out billions of dollars in contracts. Then we did our all MLB team, which we just recorded that podcast yesterday. And I was like, well, this is more fun because you get to decide who's actually the best player at each position. But I am a Yankee fan, and I love this system, especially what it's been doing this year of how many guys have jumped from maybe middle of the pack to real potential players in deals. So I'm just excited to talk with you about this. And this is another one of my favorite things, talking Yankees prospects.
Obviously, especially when the system's good. And it's funny because I feel like not that long ago, I was clowning you about the Yankees farm system.
How many conversations have you and I had being like, the Yankees just don't draft?
Yeah. And they haven't really. And then all of a sudden, Volpe takes off. You have some of these other guys start to really take off. And now I look like an idiot. But it's really cool. And the way it timed up was perfect. Like, I wanted to talk prospects in general with you, but it's honestly kind of a coincidence the way it timed up with the prospects episode with you, because I was planning on writing Yankee system next because I'm expecting trades to go down. And I want people to have a reference point to see kind of where those guys ranked in the Yankees top 10 and whether they're an honorable mention and get some write-ups on them. So I might need to hurry up though, apparently, because Twitter is going bonkers with these Matt Olson trade rumors, huh?
So this is what's been just filling my Twitter feed this morning. So Scoops RBW, I think his actual tag is at Gary Sanchez RBW2. Is this the best contact for getting all of your Yankee knowledge? Maybe some updates, maybe not.
Maybe not.
It's Twitter. But this guy was early on the Kluber deal. He had the Joey Gallo trade package exact before Passan delivered it, Jeff Passan.
Wow.
And he was up to date on every Aaron Boone contract extension before they've been released. So this is not just a random person. This is someone who has been credited with breaking stories before. Is he right every single time? No. But this package with Matt Olson, he is doubling, tripling, quadrupling down. Let me just read you the past couple tweets. Holy shit, the message I just got. Don't let me have the last laugh, I beg of you. The Yankees are going to trade for Matt Olson. It's a certainty, and it will happen soon. Most, if not all, the players I named will be in that said deal. If I received the wrong timeline, so be it. So he thought it would happen at 2 p.m. today. And the package that he's looking at is Oswald Peraza.
Which is what we said.
Which is what we said. Luke Voight, which I'm not surprised. Obviously, you send the other first baseman there. But I'm just kind of like, what is Oakland getting out of it? But Oakland remains competitive. Not to say that even if they trade away Matt Olson, that they can't be good again next year. They always figure out a way to do it. We were even saying we didn't think their roster was that good going into the year, but yet they were still very competitive. Mm-hmm. So we continue. Now he's putting Devi Garcia in the deal, who we also had in that trade. Oh no, we had. Crazy. Well, we kind of we had some Luis Medina, we had Devi Garcia, and then Austin Wells is the other name in that deal, plus a likely outfield prospect.
I think that's the exact package we put. That's pretty nuts. What if he just saw our article and he's just doubling down on that?
I think Cashman saw this podcast and said, You know what? Peter, Aram, and Jack, good. They know what they're talking about.
That sounds good. But, I think on both sides, that would be, a good deal. And we talked about that on the last episode. What's interesting, I want to talk about Oakland real quick, though, too, because before we get deep into the prospects, I think it is interesting, right? Like, I would prefer not if I'm rebuilding. Obviously, I don't want to lessen my prospect return by getting a Luke Voight. However, if the Yankees are kind of willing to give him up and aren't putting a huge value on him, why not pick him up if you're Oakland? One, he gives you a little bit more of a watchable lineup. And, like you said, you never know how they're going to start at the beginning of the season. They'll be competitive enough. And if they're not, if Voight's performing, you flip him at the deadline. And now you're going to just maximize your prospect return. The Yankees don't have the ability to roll out Luke Voight and let him get at bats and build his value up because they want somebody else there that's a superstar potentially, right? So Voight for them is they might as well just ship him out. But Oakland might be able to build that value up and flip him. So I didn't totally see the idea of where they would need Voight, but I'm not totally against the idea of Oakland picking him up. And I could see him out there. I think he kind of fits the blue collar kind of attitude out there, right?
But I have a question for you. So in this package, Oswald Peraza, we know glove first, but the bat came to play this year. He was really excellent. He's probably the best defensive infielder in the entire Yankee system. Mm-hmm. And then when you add the bat, you have a big leaguer on your hands. Deivi Garcia is one of the better pitching prospects that the Yankees have. We like a couple guys better, but I think around baseball, Deivi is valued as such. Am I right on there?
Yeah. He struggled in the big leagues, but so have a lot of guys.
And he's still young, and he's obviously more mature than a lot of these guys. And then Austin Wells, who we don't think will necessarily be a catcher, but what we do know is that the bat plays. Already talk about Arizona Fall League. This he just hit a double like a couple hours ago.
Yeah, he's hitting well out there too. And that's not even the guy we're going to talk about in this episode, which is the crazy part.
So is Luke Voight in this deal even valuable? Is he almost a fill-in in this deal? It doesn't feel like he's a centerpiece or even a second piece.
No. Honestly, right? I would rather have Wells probably, right? And it's weird because we're also not that removed from Voight leading baseball in the shortened season and pacing the league for a lot of the time in home runs and production. But he's injury prone. He's limited to first. There's questions there, and first basemen are replaceable. But I think if you're Oakland and you can get them to just throw him in there, you might as well, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
This guy can hit. This guy can absolutely hit. And now you're swapping out your first baseman, and he holds the fort down if you don't want to trade him until Austin Wells is ready. Because I think Wells will be ready in the next year and a half, and maybe even by the end of next year with the way that his bat plays. It's interesting. And I think the Yankees couldn't be in a better spot given that they have legitimately traded guys away over the last calendar year and their system has gotten better, traded minor league guys away and their system has gotten better. I would love to know what's going on from top to bottom out there because we're just seeing dudes that weren't even on radars last year start to hit. And that's why it's going to be kind of hard ranking this top 10. I wanted to talk it out and have this episode before I rank the top 10 because there's so many emerging guys that I think are right on the brink there. And this is the guy I wanted to start with and kind of talk to you about because I want to get you excited about this dude, Elijah Dunham. In the trading card community, he's one of the most talked about, or at least one of the most high volume cards as of late because he's cheaper and he's raking and he's a Yankee and he was an undrafted free agent in 2020. And he just raked this year. And now he's just dismantling pitching in the Arizona Fall League. He only has a 9% K rate, 2 home runs, he's hitting 350 something. And he is playing good defense. These guys are coming out of nowhere. And now I'm wondering if maybe that's a guy that teams are interested in now too. Like players are boosting their trade value and the season's not even going on. Like Elijah Dunham is getting more valuable each day. If I'm a team, I'm calling on him because he's interesting. He's really, really interesting. And I'll get a little bit more into him, but that's not even a guy Yankees fans are talking about, right? No one is even mentioned Elijah Dunham, right?
Quite frankly, I remember talking to you a little bit about him and then I looked him up, but I don't hear anything about Elijah Dunham, anything. But the thing is, I feel like we're always hearing about the guys who have been, Jason Dominguez, while Anthony Volpe is the number one prospect. I bet if you asked a lot of Yankee fans, is Jason Dominguez your best prospect? They'll immediately say yes.
Yeah.
Because I think it's the way Yankees fans look at their prospects because they look at them as trade pieces. They don't look at them as developing. And I think that's, I think it's kind of fair. But I want to break into another guy who may not be on the head. What am I saying? It may not be on the forefront of your mind, But Anthony Garcia, so this kid, and I call him a kid because he was born in 2000 and he's 20 years old, but he looks like a manimal. He is 6'5", 205 pounds. He was signed as an international free agent by the Yankees in July 2nd, 2017. And he came up when he was 17 years old, and he just showed that he could hit for a ton of power. He hit 10 home runs in 44 games when he was 17. Then 2019, he gets hurt a little bit, but he slugged 706, but he only had 6 games. Now we break into 2021. He's now 20, and he's playing in low A. So he hits 318 with 8 home runs, a 459 OBP, a 697 slugging, crushing balls. Gets moved up to low A, 291, 426 on base, 655 slugging, 6 home runs in 16 games. This year, he hit a home run 1 out of every 8.6 at bats.
Yeah.
This guy, we're talking about first baseman. We're talking about corner right field, a guy who could stick there. Matt Olson, 2 years of control. I think Anthony Garcia might be the next first baseman after Matt Olson. We're going even farther.
I mean, he's got the kind of power, dude, that in that short porch and right, he
Switch
could
hitter.
break bats and leave the yard.
Switch hitter.
This is, yeah, that's the even crazier part. And he's got like the kind of power where I'm starting to think I got to put like an 80 grade on it if I'm putting him in the top 10. It's that crazy because
I remember I mentioned him to you and you said he's got juice.
Because at first I'm like Anthony Garcia. And then I this bell just rung in my head and I was like, oh my gosh, I watched some video on this guy. He's already hit the ball 116 miles per hour too. And when you're doing that, and I think there's more in there. 116 is first percentile stuff. I mean, that's what
20
some of the max exit velos were, I think, for Fernando Tatis Jr. this past year. I believe
20.
his max exit velo was right around there. I mean, this is some crazy stuff. And yes, there's some question on the hit tool, but if he's a switch hitter, I mean, that makes you feel a little bit better that, he might be able to work it out. And that's something that, I mean, these are the guys that are way down there, right? Like this is a guy that's not even ranked in the top 20 for most people. Elijah Dunham, again, back to him, kind of the opposite profile, insane bat to ball skills and a really good ability to get on base. I think he's getting on base at a 472 clip in the Arizona Fall League right now. And he's got sneaky pull side power too, and is a plus runner. So that's what I like about this system is even in the lower levels and outside of the top 20, they've got the Anthony Garcia is balanced out with the Elijah Dunhams. And I think it just gives you a good chance that every year you're going to have some dudes break out. And they really position themselves well, I think, of balancing it almost like a stock portfolio where you have a little bit of high risk, high volatility over here, but then you have your safer guys over here, the guys in between, and they balance and spread the risk out really well. And let's be real, the Yankees haven't drafted great, but they do kill international free agency. And I mean, I think it's pretty evident here. And the drafting now starting to turn around a little bit too over the last couple of years. And I mean, maybe teams are asking about Anthony Garcia. Like that's the crazy thing is we don't know what teams want.
I would. You want to know something else about Anthony Garcia that's kind of crazy?
What?
39 games in 2021. He stole 15 bags.
Yeah,
stole 15 bases. And I know, it's easier to steal bags in the minor leagues because of all the rule changes, but 15 stolen bases. I mean, in 39 games, he's 6'5", 205. He's 20.
Yeah, Fangraphs has him at like a 50 runner, which is crazy. So, I mean, he's just got all of these athletic tools.
Yeah. Even if you don't think that he's going to steal bags, what I see there, we have an athlete on our hands who can also not only hit for home runs, but the walks Aram.
Yeah.
Like he's getting on base at an incredible clip. And I also want to run you by another guy that I really like. And Yankee fans, I don't know if we all remember, we saw Steven Ridings come up, who had an electric fastball. And the Yankees have been doing a really good job of producing 25, 26-year-olds in AAA that, they just need a little extra boost, and then they're there. And I'm looking at another guy. His name's Ron Marinaccio. I did a pretty good job pronouncing his name. I'm very happy about that.
We practice off the air a little bit.
Yeah, we practice. They give Jack and Aram give me flashcards, and I try my best. So, Aram, in AAA this year, 26 innings, 26 and 2/3, 41 Ks. He had a 2.36 ERA, but he struck out almost 14 guys per nine. And every single season he's had in the minor leagues, he's at least over 11 strikeouts per nine. And I would say average, it's around 13 or 14. This guy has incredible stuff. And we're probably going to see him in a rotation, considering he probably has the best changeup out of any pitcher in the Yankee system. We love changeup guys.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I wonder if, and something that I think the Yankees have done a really good job of is when I look at like a Jonathan Loaizaga and I look at some of these other, even Dellin Betances a little further back, some of these guys that were coming up as starters maybe, and then just couldn't quite make it in the stretch out 5 innings type of role. The Yankees are still able to maximize those guys' value. And I think they're doing that here with my boy Ron. I'm going to make it easier on myself, but Matty Nacho. Right?
Matty Nacho.
Yeah. With Matty Nacho, I think they're going to really utilize him as a bullpen weapon. And I think he's going to be another guy that the Yankees fans are going to love, because he's going to come in and he's going to dice dudes up. It's not just the changeup too. He's got a curveball that the new thing, and Colby was telling me about this too, is one of the new waves in the pitching world is like a hard power curveball. And he's got that low 80s power curveball that is nasty, that jumps, it just wipes right off the table and drops off the table. That with the changeup, you're like, oh, this guy's a 3-pitch mix. I think it's more of the command side of things. Mm-hmm. We'll see. But that could be, he could be that kind of guy though, that is a back end reliever, but also in some spots, you can stretch out for 2 or 3 like Loaizaga at times. And that's a really important role. And I think we've kind of seen the idea of a back end reliever just evolve year to year. And I think he could be kind of Loaizaga 2.0. I don't think he's quite got that kind of stuff, but the secondaries are there. I mean, he doesn't have the triple digits fastball, but it's mid 90s, like, oh, too bad. And he's got the slider / curveball type pitch and a nasty change. I like it a lot. And when you have 2 different off-speed pitches that you can go to, because we talk about it with like Chapman, right? Like when he comes out with the fastball, if he doesn't have it that day. There's some guys where if they don't have their breaking ball or their changeup that day, they're toast, because that's their only out pitch. Absolutely. When you got 2 different out pitches to go to that are wipeout, if the changeup isn't working for you, go to the breaking ball. And then, or vice versa. That's why I think he's a big league reliever, which is a huge value to this Yankees team, especially with how much they already have invested in the bullpen, to have some of those cheaper guys. I think you identified a great target there. And I think we're going to be talking about him again in a few months and be like, remember when we were talking about him? Well, yeah, he's striking out 13 per 9 now and out of the bullpen. It's just the numbers are just screaming at me. But there's another guy I got to ask you about, because I remember we were in Colorado, we were watching the draft, and the Yankees took a shortstop, 6'4", 200 pounds, out of Eastern Illinois in the first round. His name's Trey Sweeney. And I looked to you and I'm like, Aram, who in the hell is Trey Sweeney? What are we? All these guys were available. Why'd we go Trey Sweeney? There was plenty of starting pitchers. We need pitching. But then he's kind of good. He's getting on base at a good clip. He's kind of doing everything well right now. And I think he's going to be in the top 10 of when you make your system. I think he should be. He looks good. I'm curious to see what you think about him. And have you heard, because we were hearing about all these guys getting thrown into packages, but I haven't heard even a lick about Trey Sweeney, but I've heard all about Austin Wells. That's the funny thing is I think the Yankees really, really like Trey Sweeney. I mean, obviously, right, they drafted him in the first round, but yeah, we've seen teams kind of often where, especially a team like the Yankees, a big market team that's looking to buy and make moves, sometimes they're not that attached to their first round pick. I mean, look at Jared Kelenic with the Mets. It happens a lot where sometimes teams, that are drafting late in the first, they're like, this guy is who we picked, but, we're not that attached to him. I don't think that's the case with the Yankees. I agree. I'd been hearing that Bubba Chandler was very much attached to the Yankees. I remember that. He was. But they ended up not going the Bubba Chandler route because Trey Sweeney fell to them. And I think that's something that says a lot, because Bubba Chandler is one of the most freakish athletes I've ever seen in my life. And the Yankees like those kind of guys. He can do literally everything. I like Trey Sweeney a lot. I was really disappointed because I went out to go see Dominguez play in low A in Jupiter, and Sweeney had been just making his debut maybe a couple of days before. I didn't catch him, but I did get to talk to some guys on that Jupiter team that said, no, this guy can swing it. Like, this guy doesn't even need to be here. He should be in high A already. And that's something that, sometimes it's a little bit murky with the mid-major guys, but he's shown it. He's got the track record. The Yankees like something in him, and I can kind of see it too. He's got that blend of contact and power, and the way the Yankees have been able to unlock more power out of guys, I'm willing to bet on Trey Sweeney continuing to develop that power. And I'm not trading him if I'm the Yankees. I think it's pretty clear that they like this guy a lot. Left-handed hitting shortstop, 6'4", 200 pounds. What does that remind you of, Peter?
Corey Seager.
Exactly. And he's got some of the similar type of like potential offensively profile wise, hopefully he'll hit that much, but I kind of see that blend of contact power. He's pretty darn intriguing, dude. And, we'll see in the upper levels, but yeah, I like the pick. I like the pick a lot.
I'm curious to hear your opinion too, because the Yankees do have a ton of starters. And all we hear about is Clark Schmidt. And I don't even know why he should be ranked with these guys. I mean, Clark Schmidt just continually gets hurt. I mean, even in like 2021 this year, I know it was a short stint, but he had a 5.68 ERA when he debuted in 2020, 7.11. He's only thrown 13 innings in the major league, so we're not going to, blame him. But from everything we've seen, it hasn't been amazing so far. But the Yankees have so many more exciting arms. Ken Waldichuk comes to mind. Hayden Wesneski comes to mind. I don't know why Clark Schmidt is getting all the love when we got guys in the low threes who have just been shoving in the minors for a while now.
Yeah. I think it's a great point. And I'd always been a little bit lower on Schmidt. Yeah. He was somebody that had arm issues going back to when he was selected, right? I mean, he could still settle into a back end of the rotation role. I just don't know why. Yeah, like you said, we're ranking guys with huge upside that have already put up better numbers in the lower levels, or even some in AA, better than what Schmidt did, even at his best. So what are we doing? I think sometimes we get too caught up in the name and where they were drafted and are just so hesitant to move them back. Clark Schmidt could be great, but let's think about it this way. And I always like to look at it with this value too. If you're making a trade right now and you're trading, who cares who it is? Who would you rather part with, Peter? You're put your Brian Cashman hat on. Would you rather part with Clark Schmidt, or would you rather part with Ken Waldichuk / Luis Medina?
Clark Schmidt.
Of course.
Clark Schmidt is 25. Ken Waldichuk is 23. Hayden Wesneski is 23. They're putting up better numbers. Their stuff is better. The only problem is those two, command is the only issue right now, which is important, but it's not like Clark Schmidt's commanding the zone that well.
No.
And that's why I'm just always kind of down on Devi. I feel like these Yankee names, they get carried up and then there's just too much and then they fall back down. An example of that, even though I'm not ready to give up on him at all, because in 2021, when he made his major league stint, he actually looked really good. The guy I'm referring to is Estevan Florial, a guy like that who was in every Yankees trade proposal. I mean, it was the next best outfielder. This is our future center fielder. And he comes up and he's okay, but he had a better 2021 and he's still young. And he's an incredible athlete. And I still think his swing plays. So I still like him, but that was the guy we were hearing. Jason Dominguez. I mean, tell me about Jason Dominguez, because I'm looking at a 250 average. I'm not seeing him get on base that much. I'm not seeing him hit for that many home runs. We saw him. He doesn't know how to slide yet. And he's not 14. He's at the age now, 18. I know it's still young, but the generational guys were already hitting. The Wander Francos, the Juan Sotos, those guys. And that's who he's being compared to. He's being compared to goddamn Mickey Mantle.
Yeah, right.
So at 18, I want you hitting 350. I want you hitting 20 bombs. Like what have you seen?
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up. And then I also want to just wrap a bow on Schmidt real quick, because there's something really weird that I noticed. And as you as a pitcher, I feel like you're going to want to, or you did both, but you have the pitching background a little bit too, until the elbow exploded. But I was watching him, and out of the windup, I'm like, his mechanics look so inconsistent, and he kept flying open. And then I'm watching this full inning. It was an old game, but I was watching this full inning. And then I'm watching him out of the stretch, and I'm like, oh, that looks good. Like, he's on top of the curveball. He's commanding it better. I'm like, whoa, he looks really good out of the stretch. And I was like, I wonder if it's just this game. So I watched another game, same thing. So I pull up the stats, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but his ERA and his strikeout numbers and his walk numbers were so different with runners on versus nobody on, meaning so he was going out of the stretch. Most guys are worse with runners on base. It's a pain in the ass. You got to hold dudes on. You got to go out of the stretch. You're dealing with, not being able to walk guys as much. You can't pitch around them because there's nowhere to put them. He was exponentially better with runners on base, which tells me he's just got better mechanics from the stretch. I don't know why he doesn't go from the stretch more or hasn't tweaked those mechanics a little bit, but I mean, the numbers are there too. The eye test was verified by the numbers. Like, look at his numbers with runners on base and then nobody on base, and it's pretty dramatic. So I'm hoping for Schmidt that it's a slight mechanical tweak, and maybe they can get him rocking from there, or maybe he just goes out of the stretch exclusively. But, at 25 years old, like you said, the clock is ticking. On the flip side, to answer your Dominguez question.
Wait, before we move on back to Dominguez, you know what that screams at me, though?
What?
Bullpen.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally. I mean, put him in the bullpen, make him the wise guy, or at least give him a 10. Like, he's probably not going to be in the rotation. You are 25 years old. Not to say that you can't develop at 25.
Yeah.
Jacob deGrom, example A.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that at some point, we got to look at ourselves and be like, we have just better starting pitchers who are younger and more ready. And it's, if he's 25 years old now, who's already had these arm troubles, let's just put him in the bullpen. And it's not like we have to say, Clark Schmidt, you are now a bullpen guy.
Yeah.
Get him some confidence. Maybe bring him in with runners on. Let him go from the stretch. Let him do well. And then we could say, all right, are you ready to be a starter? Something like that. Yeah. Instead of just pushing him out for innings and I don't see it as much.
And I love him in like a middle, like a swingman role where he's eating up innings when your starter, implodes or God forbid gets hurt, or, then sometimes he's that other arm in the middle relief kind of role too, or a spot starter when something happens in a late scratch. Like, those guys are valuable. And I think that's a good starting spot for him. So, yeah, I think that's really interesting. But yeah, to wrap up with where I would put him, I'm of course putting Waldichuk ahead of him. A lefty that's racking up strikeouts like anybody, as well as anybody in the minors. Spin rates off the charts with the fastball, a nasty slider, a good curveball, a good changeup. Like, those are guys I get excited about, and they've already shown some results too. I love that
he's 6'4", 200 pounds. He had 163 strikeouts in 110 innings with a 3.03 ERA. The only thing holding him back is the walks. That's it.
Tall lefties, bro. They're like baby drafts. They're so awkward. They just can't figure it out. But it takes time.
What kind of scares me, though?
What?
I'm watching his mechanics. And I'm like, you kind of look like Andrew Heaney.
Yankees fans are...
When Andrew Heaney, whatever, say what you want about Andrew Heaney, and I don't want to put that on him, but I'm just like, God, he throws exactly kind of like him.
Marlins legend right there. First round pick by the Fish, traded for D. Gordon. He's been passed around and somehow got $8 million from the Dodgers. So tip of the cap to Andrew Heaney and his agent.
Dodgers. I mean, the Yankees saw something. There's something deeper in those analytics that somebody's looking at, because everyone and these good organizations are giving him these big chances too. The Yankees and now the Dodgers signing for $8 million. There's something there. Will it actually work?
Yeah. So the last thing we'll say is, would you get mad at me for leaving Clark Schmidt out of the top 10 potentially?
No, he shouldn't be in the top 10.
Okay, good. Because he's going to be right on the edge there. Waldichuk will be in. Spoiler
Can we do
alert.
Some things? Can you ask me some guys, and I'll give you my kind of, if I think they should be, top 10. That's a fun exercise.
Yes.
Like, there's guys that you're like, oh, and I'll shoot you straight.
100%. I want to answer your Dominguez thing, and then let's
do that.
There's so many. Yeah, when we talk Yankees, it's like you're lucky. I love all of the questions because we're talking about 4 things at once right now. And I hope the listeners are keeping up. They've like run it back.
You're like, what the hell are they even talking about?
Where are we? Where are we right now? No, it's great. But the Dominguez thing, you bring up a really good point. I hate being harsh on a 18, 19-year-old, but you have to treat him with the like level of criticism that he is being compared to, right? Like if he's being put in the same conversation as Wander, as Julio, as those guys, then we have to, hold him to that standard. Wander was demolishing low A pitching and then demolishing high A pitching at this point. Julio was doing the same thing. Now, that's not to say that means Jason Dominguez isn't going to be a great player, but let's just acknowledge the fact that they are very different. That Dominguez is much more volatile, and he's just not on that level yet. He's just not there, and that's okay. But I think it's really important for Yankees fans and just people in general in baseball, especially baseball card investors who are paying so much money for his cards, to understand where he is at relative to some of the other generational prospects that we've seen. Physically, he's generational, but so was Yasiel Puig. I still think that Dominguez can be obviously a superstar. He's a power hitting guy with a, big juice from both sides and a crazy athlete, but he also was 3 for 52 against curveballs this year.
Why is he not slugging Aram? He slugged 398 in low A. What?
Yeah.
You're 5'10", what? 210? 200? What do you what's the game then?
He's got to hit for power. I mean, that's the big thing, right? Like that's the
only way for power.
Successful. And I think he was caught in between, from what I saw, of trying to make consistent contact and develop as a hitter while still trying to hit for power. So he's still trying to figure out who he is. That's what I really saw, because I saw him take huge swings early in the count, and then he's trying to shorten up with 2 strikes, but then he just looks like he's uncomfortable. Like he's never done that before. And remember, this is a guy that's never really played organized baseball before this. Like, why are we expecting this guy to just come out and be a superstar? Like, it's just not fair to him. And I think that's why you saw the Yankees brass push back and say, hey, like, let's slow down on this kid. It's not fair to him, because the hype train on him just took off too quick. Let's see what happens. Let's give him some time. It might take a little bit of time. He's not Wander Franco. He's not that pure hitter. He's got a lot of maturing to do. With that said, he's still at peak value right now, unless he just absolutely mashes next year. If I'm getting a superstar, you're okay with trading him now?
Oh yeah. I wrote an article like 4 months ago. All the guys who I would trade for Jason Dominguez. I put Ketel Marte in there. I put Jesse Winker at the time. I could be wrong. This could just bite us in the ass. And it's like, wait, Jason Dominguez did turn into everything that we thought. But what's more likely? Remember Phil Hughes? Remember? We could go all day.
All day.
What's more likely?
It's more likely that he doesn't. And I want to be so like this. I don't even want this to come off.
I hope he's the center fielder for the Yankees for the next 20 years. But I think we may be expected, when he's getting compared to the Juan Soto's, the Julio Rodriguez's of the world, that he's going to come up at 20. He might just come up at 23. He might need 3, 4, 5 years in the minors.
But 3, 4, 5 years for the Yankees is an eternity. Like at that point, he's expendable, in my opinion. And that's why I think the Yankees, I frankly would rather trade him than trade, like if it came down to this. I'm not saying it would come down to this, but I would rather keep Peraza and Wells than just Dominguez, potentially. Potentially.
You're not far off on that at all.
Maybe not.
Because Austin Wells will be a major league hitter. Regardless, the bat is too good. Peraza,
he's a
major league defensive short. Like Nicky Lopez.
We'll see how the bat translates, but like he's a big leaguer. He's
hitting.
Guy. Yeah, he's hitting.
Are we not gonna promote guys who are hitting versus guys who are not hitting? Kanan Smith traded in the Tyon deal. You know how I feel about him. Yeah, has hit at every level. And I was like, what? Nobody wanted him just because he's kind of fat.
Yeah, but he hits. He hits. And he's a good athlete. His brother plays wide receiver at Ohio State. I just found this out recently. So
why do scouts not care if you hit? They do, but like
no, they really don't. It's funny. I just talked to Jeff Ponce about this on the Locked On Prospect show, and I was like, we were talking about, and he just took a job at Baseball America. And he's like, one of the first things I'm going to do when I get here is I just want to tell everybody how important it is to just hit the freaking baseball. Like we're doing it backwards here. And then the same thing's happening with pitching. But I think the Yankees are doing a really good job now of kind of, like I said, balancing it out. They do it well with the hitting side. The pitching side, I think they still chase the stuff before the pitch ability for the most part, right? Like, wouldn't you say that?
Go through their top pitchers. They're all like that. It's incredible stuff, but it's just what's holding them back? It's
like, are they going to put it together?
It's the walks, and it's all of them. And so, I mean, there's one guy, Joely Brito is his name. I think that's his name. He has incredible command, probably the best command in the minors in the entire Yankee system. But he followed that up with a 5.04 ERA this year. So it's like, okay, well, throwing in the strikes, we're just getting hit all the time.
Yeah, so that's the problem. It's you got to balance the two.
Yeah.
I got a name for you, and this is a guy that I'm really excited about, but there's some interesting caveats to him.
Okay.
Oswaldo Cabrera hit 29 homers. He's obviously going to crack the top 10. At least I'm fairly positive, unless something crazy comes up to me when I do my further final deep dive. Cabrera hit 29 jacks, dude. He hit 272. He kept the strikeouts decently in check, and he stole 21 bags, and this is upper level stolen bases, so those count a little bit more. Really, AA and above, the stolen bases count a little bit more. Less rules. I think the only rule in AA was that the base was like 2 inches bigger, which is just so freaking weird. But that was about it. So the stolen bases were pretty valid, and he stole a lot of them and did not strike out that much. What are your thoughts there on where you think he stacks up? Like, how excited are you about this guy? Are you kind of taking it with a grain of salt? Because he's another guy that frankly exploded out of nowhere also.
Somewhat taking it with a grain of salt. So what I'm seeing, 2017, he slugged 321, then 2018, 320, then 2019, 378, and his OBP is 306, 273, 310 in those 3 years. I mean, he just wasn't that good, but then he burst onto the scene in AA. But still, he's not getting on base, a 311, but he ran into some balls, obviously, at 24 jacks. But then he goes up to AAA. I know it's only 9 games.
But he homered 5 times.
But he homered 5 times and hit 500. But this is just not a guy that's getting on base. But he's 22. He's in AAA. He's very slim.
Yeah, how crazy is that?
140, he weighs 145 pounds.
I'm so glad that you're just seeing all of this right now.
Yeah, I don't know much about this guy. I was going to bring you another guy. I've seen him.
No, but I did this on purpose. Because I wanted you to just organically digest how confusing this guy is.
Yeah.
Like, this is a really hard guy to rank. There's obviously power. He hit 29. He's got defensive versatility.
Switch
but
hitter.
He's 5'10", 145 pounds. I think I was that big in 8th grade. And I was also chubby, but still. But I didn't hit 29 jacks in upper levels of minor leagues. Here's the really interesting thing.
He strikes out a lot.
This is my biggest pet peeve on planet Earth. He has the Ozzy Albies syndrome. He's a switch hitter who sucks from the right side. Just sucks, which is great. I'd rather you be good from the left side, right? Like, you're going to hit way more from the left side. So he has reverse Ozzy Albies syndrome because you actually are going to be way better from the side that you're going to hit more from. So that's better with Cabrera. Whereas Albies, he suffers more from the side that he hits more from, which sucks. But Cabrera, 21 of his 24 home runs to start the year were from the left side. That's not great.
That's not a switch hitter.
That's not a switch hitter. That's just a guy that is also hitting from the other side.
Or he's just that athletic that he can, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you should.
311 OPS point difference between the two sides.
What are we talking about here?
That's like just anybody just switch hitting at that point. So I'm almost thinking the Cedric Mullins effect here, man. If he cuts the right side out, even if he kind of is bad left on left, he can't be worse. And I just wonder if we can see that kind of Cedric Mullins effect. Because not only are you eliminating a side where you hit 650 OPS wise, you're also now just able to focus on one swing. I'm really curious what's going to happen there with Cabrera, but that's why I wanted to mention him. He is a walking headache for me.
Kind of turning me on right now. Such a good
Cedric Mullins.
I mean, think about it. He's crushing from one side, not from the other. You cut out 40% of his at-bats where he's sucking and make it.
Where he's sucking. Right?
He's
right?
Still not that old.
Not old. It's not too late. Cedric Mullins stopped switch hitting at 25. So that was a name I wanted to bring up because I'm like, if he says I quit switch hitting, I'm actually going to get so amped. I'm going to start buying all his cards and moving him up. But
Can I give
right
you
now, it's
my guy who has to be a top 10 guy, but I haven't seen him on any top 10 list that I could find?
Interesting. Let's hear it.
Everson Pereira.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay.
Why are people not putting this dude in the top 10? I mean, I'll take you through it. I'll take you. Goddamn.
Please. And then I'll add anything you missed because I love this guy.
He hit 300 this year as a 20-year-old. He got on base at a 400 clip, slugged 686. And through every level, he got good. He's got a baseball body, 6 foot, 190 pounds, came from that same signing period as Anthony Garcia. And this guy does everything well again. I mean, he's adding muscle. He's a solid runner. I just keep watching video of him. I love his swing.
Oh, yeah.
He seems like he has a good approach, too. He's not striking out that much, but yet I can't find him in top 10s. Another guy, Anthony Garcia, I haven't even seen him in a top 30.
I haven't even seen him mentioned very much
I haven't
at all.
Seen him mentioned.
And that's what's so weird to me because I can promise you the teams would prefer Everson Pereira over, if you're looking at the, I don't know, like what's MLB pipeline have?
Everson Pereira or Devi Garcia?
Yeah, like, yeah.
No, seriously.
Everson Pereira.
But Devi Garcia is a top 10 guy easily, right?
Yep. You know, that's what's crazy to me. And I've seen some, you know, I think it's updated now, but for a while you were seeing guys like, who are we? Florial ranked ahead of Pereira. Now
Florial?
That's not happening anymore. But I mean, Pereira's 20 years old, like you said. And dude, he's impacting the baseball with some special kind of force. I mean, he put up several exit velos over 110 miles an hour. So
20.
You talk about how you see the swing and like it. I saw the swing. I was like, I love this swing. But I looked at him. I'm like, okay, 6 foot, 190. How much power does he have? And I'm looking at him. I'm like, he's in the ball hard. And then when you check
balls,
the numbers,
he stays in the zone a very long time too.
Yeah,
I like him a lot. I'm very excited.
And guess what, dude? Another guy that, you know, is at a very important position. I don't know if he can stick in center. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I've seen enough of him in the outfield to know if he's going to stick there, but he moves pretty well. I think there's no reason to believe that he can't. If he's doing what he does offensively at center field, like this is another name, right?
Guy.
Yeah, like this is another
guy.
name. Yeah. Oh, he's serious consideration, probably going to crack the top 100. So that's my point. If he's a top 100 guy potentially, but he's not on other top 10s, like what are we seeing that other people aren't? And also, I can promise you that teams are asking about Pereira. I can promise you. Come on, like they're asking about this dude. I would say as much as they're asking about Austin Wells and some of the, I might rather have Pereira than Austin Wells because of the premium position.
Think about it. You got the center field, and he's putting up just the same numbers as he is, and he's what, 2-3 years younger?
Yep. So I'll promise you that he is a top 10 guy. Spoiler alert, he will be in there.
He's close, and he's top 5 almost. It's just this Yankee system has been so good. I mean, just before we get into some guys that you are unsure about top 10, and maybe we'll just fire them off, just give us like a 30-second summary of what you thought about the Yankee system at the beginning of the year to where we are now, because I think that in itself is so exciting for Yankee fans to hear.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I wrote something, I want to say probably a month or two ago, and I was just like, the title was "Despite Trades, Yankees Farm System Most Improved in Baseball."
One of my favorite articles ever on our site.
Yeah, of course, right? Of course. And Yankees fans got amped on that one, which I love.
As they should.
But, dude, I came into this year making fun of the Yankee system to you. Like, fully was like, this system.
I was too. We were making fun of it together.
It's
like,
Jason.
God damn it, we can't draft. We're drafting switch throwing catchers.
Yeah, like that's it. Like you're just praying that Siegler can do
Anthony
something.
Siegler, first rounder. God, what were we doing?
That's why I thought you guys were going to get Bubba Chandler. The guy's a switch hitter, pitcher, quarterback.
He'll figure out a way to get on the field because he's just so athletic. But these guys don't.
Segura's just throws with both arms. That's it. But yeah, honestly, I looked at this system as a bottom 5 system in baseball. Realistically, maybe a little bit better than that.
I would have probably had some pushback on there, but bottom 10 is not out of the question.
Bottom 10, realistically.
Yeah.
Bottom 10.
There's some bad farm systems.
There's some bad.
The White Sox don't have anybody.
Oh no, they're terrible. I probably would have had them bottom 10, but you look at where Volpe is. Volpe is someone that wouldn't have been on my top 100. Now he's in the top 10 potentially in the update. Who makes that kind of jump? That one I feel like is on me, but it's that's on me because I feel like I shouldn't have been so quick to dismiss Anthony Volpe because I should have been able to say, okay, he's capable of something. But I feel like everybody was out on him.
But Aram, this is just a continuous cycle within the Yankees farm system.
Yeah.
So it's not on you. I probably did the same thing, not even thinking about it. Just it probably won't be that good. We're just not getting anybody.
Another Yankees draft pick that's not good, right? And you're looking at him and you're like, okay, well, he's not that big. And now he's not hitting for that much contact. And he's 5'11", 180, and he's not doing much.
He also, what I was a little bit nervous about, he went to Jack Leiter's high school. A bunch of scouts just always saw him. Is he a result of scouts just seeing him so much, talking with him so much, liking him, and then just drafting him when he's actually not that good? But it was actually the complete opposite. It really was. He turned out to be way better than anyone could have expected.
Which, so that leads it right there, right? That's a guy that's now a top 10 prospect in baseball. That makes your system a lot better. Yeah. You're not getting a top 10 prospect unless you trade Aaron Judge. You know what I'm saying? That's almost the only way you're getting a top 10 prospect if you're the Yankees. So just think about that. Then you add all of these other guys that went from borderline top 30, if that, to just raking into the top 10 and becoming trade pieces like Josh Smith over to the Rangers. Even recent draft picks like Trevor Hauver, you just took that guy in the 4th or 5th round and then flip him as the secondary piece for Joey Gallo. These are the things that the Yankees just had guys take it to another level. I loved Wells, but to see what they did, with Oswaldo Cabrera, even, this is somebody that was on no radars. Now he hit 29 jacks, whether we're sold or not, we'll see. Pereira, another guy, not really on that many radars going into the year. Boom, blows up. And then you balance that out with the Waldichucks of the world, who I didn't even know existed before this year. This is a really, really insanely talented system. And then now I'm sprinkling in the Elijah Dunhams of the world. And I love what I'm seeing. Even Josh Bro hit this year, dude. Even Josh Bro hit a little bit.
I was looking at Josh Bro's stats. The problem with Josh Bro is that he hits for crazy power, but just doesn't do anything else. His OBP was less than 300 this year. Even in A ball in 2019 was 324. And he just strikes out a lot, but he just doesn't walk. But he hits bombs. He hit 23 home runs in 90 games across high A and double A. And then in double A, he was still slugging 500. He was hitting fine. So even a guy like that, I wasn't that high on. I was like, oh God, another one of these catchers who just doesn't hit and plays fine defense that we just have to deal with. But no, he has proved that he can hit for some power. I have one guy, and maybe this is more of a kind of a homer pick. Southern California, Central Coast. Shout out Central Coast. Matt Sauer was drafted in the 2nd round by the Yankees in 2017. I really liked him. He's got a big old body, 6'4", 200 pounds, 22-year-old. I thought he was actually going to be a really good starter. I was really happy with the pick. But through A and then he got promoted to high A, we got a 5.2 ERA. We got a 4.34. We got a guy who's walking a ton of guys. And he's not striking out a ton. Maybe you don't know that much about him, more of a homer pick. He's pretty low in the Yankees prospect list right now. Do you know anything about Matt Sauer? Do you like him? I don't know.
I watched a little bit of him through the lower levels, and then I also did a little bit of digging on Sauer. And the one thing that really has been an issue for him is that his fastball gets pulverized. I think the secondaries are pretty good. I don't know if that was something that you liked about him in college. The secondaries are all pretty solid.
No, he was a high school guy.
Or high school guy. Oh, he's a high school guy. Yeah.
High school guy. Central Coast, baby. Santa Maria.
The fastball gets just knocked around. 903 OPS against the 4-seamer. But everything else is the secondaries are good. He's one of those guys that has a razor thin margin for error because your baseline pitch, your fastball is just so hittable. So I'm interested to see how the Yankees can maybe adjust him, maybe get him throwing more sinkers or try to adjust the grip, make it more of a high spin fastball, whatever it is. He's already trying to avoid throwing it a lot, and it still gets crushed. So that's the only issue with him, but I wouldn't give up on him yet, especially as a high school guy. Those guys, sometimes they take a few years. It's like almost like their minor leagues is like their college, and they got to develop. But the way these Yankees prospects have been just emerging and jumping out, who knows what can happen. But I will say it seems like it's happening more with the offensive side of things than the pitching side. So I'm very interested to see what the Yankees look to do in the next couple drafts. I feel like they might start going like safer college arms, because we're seeing a lot of those college arms perform like big time. The Cade Cavallis of the world, the Cole Henrys of the world, even on the Marlins side, Max Meyer, Jake Eater, a lot of these college arms, you're not sacrificing upside. It's not like that anymore. It used to be that way. It's like safe pick college guy or high upside high school guy. It's not like that anymore. You can get plenty of upside from these college guys, and I think that's pretty clear. I want to turn it back on you real quick.
Let's do it. But I was just going to say perfect example of that, Jordan Montgomery getting drafted out of South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I mean, just like kind of a, decent arm, but then turned into their Yankees legit 3. That's what I think they were thinking with Clark Schmidt.
They should do more of that. Yeah. Schmidt,
more of that.
Yes. Then they went to the riskiest college guy possible, like that with arm issues and older and
arm.
Yeah, I didn't like it. So let's say that trade package doesn't go through for Matt Olson, and somebody else somehow outbids it, which won't happen. But who else would you be willing to put that package together for that is on the trade market? Like, is that a package that you're only trading for a Hank Aaron Award finalist? I mean, you're not trading one of your top 2 prospects here, right? Like, this is your 3rd prospect and then other really solid pieces, but it's not your top 2 guys. Like, I look at the landscape. There's a few guys I'd maybe do that for, but I think Olson, you almost want to get a guy that you feel like is guaranteed to translate to success with the Yankees, like an Olson. Who else would be on your mind? Because I know you're always thinking about guys that you want on your team.
Always. I want Ketel Marte more than I even want to see my 24th birthday, which is coming up. I want him so bad. And I've wanted him for so long. And I've heard so many goddamn rumors. And I just want him. He's a switch hitter. He's so dynamic. He's everything I want in my center fielder. And also, he doesn't even need to play center field. Go play second base too.
Yeah.
He's so athletic and he's so good. I'm wondering, would this package work for a guy like Ketel Marte? Or do you think it might actually, demand a little bit more?
Dude, that's a good question.
Because I swear to you, Aram, I'd rather give this for Ketel Marte than Matt Olson. And I'm willing to say
I don't even think that's crazy. Because
it's not crazy, right?
No, not at all. Because look, I think Olson, obviously, on just the offensive side of things, is safe of a bet as you're going to find.
But Olson, this was his first coming out party. I'm not saying that he's not going to continue to do this, but was this peak Olson, or is this Olson that we're going to expect?
Yeah, that's a fair question. Fair. And the K rate like cut in half, and I mean he looks spectacular. But you get a Marte now, that's a dynamic top of the order guy that can serve a Whit Merrifield type role as a switch hitter with power.
But way better than Whit Merrifield.
Yeah. I mean, he's incredible. I think that package could get it done. And even if it takes a little bit more, like you have to trade Dominguez. I know you're doing it.
I am doing it.
What if it had to be Volpe?
Only untouchable. Just only because untouchable. I think he's the only untouchable in the system. Just because I think if we sign a Corey Seager, 2 years, Corey Seager moves over to third and Anthony Volpe is the shortstop of the future. He's my only guy that I really want to keep. And Jason Dominguez is not untradeable.
No, he shouldn't be.
Peak value.
He really shouldn't be.
He's 18.
He really shouldn't,
guys.
I would look, dude. I would give up pretty much anything for Ketel Marte. Like, I don't think people realize how good he is because he's kind of sheltered away over in Arizona.
I wouldn't, and that goes to show how much I like Volpe. I wouldn't give up Volpe in that.
I think it's fair.
It depends. If they're like Volpe for Ketel, I'd be like, yeah, let's do
1 for 1.
Yeah, but if it's like Volpe and then you got to give Wells in there and then you got to throw another pitcher and then it's like, okay, now it's like it's too much. It's too much. But that's the only guy.
That's the only guy.
It's the only guy.
I like it. I mean, that's fair.
Is that fair?
That's fair. I mean, we had Hubs on here saying he wouldn't trade Dominguez for anybody not named Ohtani. Like, dude.
He did say he would trade him for Vladdy and Trout.
Oh, okay. That's very reasonable. That's very reasonable.
Not Soto, though.
Not Soto, though. No. Not Soto. But that was a good one. But to
like
wrap
Soto
up,
and Jason Dominguez are like close in age right now.
Yeah, they're like 3 years apart. And Soto, dude, like
Soto has a chip. Like,
yeah, he had a chip at like 20.
2019, he won it.
Yeah. It's dumb. Devers too, bro. Like, I don't think people realize how much of a wonderkin Devers was also.
Wonderkin.
Like, he was up here. He's been hitting for 4 years now. 5, like going on 5. Like hitting for like 4 or 5 years. So, I mean, that's crazy too. And I'm interested to see. So let's say, last thing I want to ask you, Luis Medina is a tough one because a little bit of prospect fatigue because he's young. He's only 22, but he feels like he's 24 because he's been around for a while. His command is marginally improved. I think, we saw him in person in the Arizona Fall, or not the Arizona Fall League. Geez, I'm in Arizona Fall League mode in the All-Star break for that Future Stars game. And I mean, look, he threw 100 miles an hour and he's got a nasty slider, but I hate the bullpen relegation thing. I really try to avoid that unless I'm really, really sure about it. I'm not relegating him to the bullpen yet, but he's a guy that, I'll be honest, man, like he's tough to place because I put him too low. If he puts it together, he's elite. But if I put him high, he could easily struggle and he's way too high. It's not the end of the world either way, but it's just like the fun of it. It's a challenge.
You want to know how I'm feeling right now about him?
Let's hear it.
I've been watching he's probably the one pitcher who I've been watching the most video on because I'm trying to figure him out. Why are you throwing 102 miles an hour, but your strikeout numbers aren't that good? And it's like the pitches themselves, when we saw him in the Futures game, the pitches themselves don't have that much on them. Like when you're watching Cade Cavalli, when you're watching Shane Baz, you're like, all these pitches got mustard on them.
Yeah.
Luis Medina, I was like, And you know who it keeps reminding me of the more and more I watch him? And this is a bullpen guy. Edwin Diaz.
Really?
High velocity, electric fastball, the slider in the 90s, but can be inconsistent. The fastball, although 102, gets hit a lot. The slider, sometimes it gets hit a lot. Is it some of the nastiest pitches? Have we seen Edwin Diaz, what he did with Seattle? He can be absolutely electric, but then he can also be one of the most hittable pitchers in baseball.
Yeah. I
keep watching him, and that's just what keeps coming to my head. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But I just feel like I'm looking at a young Edwin Diaz.
Well, if he goes to the bullpen, then he can just focus on 2 pitches, dial it up to 102, and just focus on one breaking ball. Because I mean, right now he's tried so hard with the changeup, and the changeup's just not good, man. Like it's just a firm. It's just like a slow.
We watched it. He threw it like 90, it didn't even move.
It didn't move, and it was like 93. Like it was just like a flat fastball.
Literally, it wasn't deceptive. It wasn't like because you could throw. I mean, Jacob deGrom and his 91-mile-an-hour changeup, it's totally fine.
Yeah,
but it's not that good.
No, it actually like moves, I think, less than his fastball. So when you have your changeup moving less than your fastball, it's a problem. I feel like we're very, people are just so quick to move to the bullpen, but this is a guy that to me, it just seems like there's too much working against him. That doesn't mean he can't be elite. Like you said, if he's Edwin Diaz, I think you're pretty happy with that. But it just seems like it's just too hard at this point for him to be able to not only have command, but even develop a third pitch too. I mean, he's been around for a while. I feel like if he hasn't done it to this point, it's probably not going to happen as a starter. And he might need to start, the Yankees might need to start looking at him as a bullpen arm. I think they're going to start him early this year, see how it goes. And if he struggles a little bit, then at that point, they might move him up to AA quickly and put him in a bullpen role and see if he can start climbing his way to the big leagues, which, are Yankees fans going to be super upset with that? Or, is that fine?
He's 6'1", 175 pounds as well.
Yeah.
His durability might be an issue when you're throwing that freaking hard every single time.
Since 17, like He's been doing it for a long time.
That's why I'm even willing to kind of say this right now that I'd rather have Waldichuk. Yeah. And I'm almost on the boat where I'd rather have Wesneski. Love these guys. Yeah. I mean, and we haven't even talked really about Luis Gil.
Yeah.
He's electric when he made his debut, and he's currently the Yankees' top-rated pitching prospect. I love everything about Luis Gil. You know, I've been on the Luis Gil trade too. He reminds me of just a bigger Severino.
You think he can? He's a guy that he's shown he can circumvent the command issues
stuff
a little bit. Like he's got way more staying power in a rotation for me.
Yeah,
because I think he's got some similar issues as Medina, but he's got multiple pitches that are big league caliber. He just has to command them. Medina,
and he's not that high effort either.
Medina has one big league pitch. It's his curveball, and that's and the fastball, but it's flat.
But if it's flat, it is flat.
So it's like you have 2-ish big league pitches and one's hittable that you don't command well. Like there's a lot working against you. That's the way I kind of look at it.
Diaz doesn't throw strikes; he just chucks as hard as he can, and sometimes he gets out because he's throwing 102.
I think he closes his eyes. He just throws it and hopes it goes over the plate.
Would be shocked.
Let's wrap up with a couple of just anybody else, basically, that you feel like I need to mention. And just for those listening, like we'll have this out hopefully in the next couple of days. Very latest will be probably on Friday, just because I want to make sure I get the write-ups right. But it'll be out very soon. It'll be out very soon. But to consulting you, Yankees master Peter, who do I need to have on this top 10? Like, who am I? Do I lose all credibility if I don't have him on?
There's not. I mean, you got to have Waldichuk on there. I'm not seeing Wesneski in any of these top 10s. I'd personally rather have him than Devi.
Wow.
I'm honestly curious to hear your opinion about Brendan Beck, because Brendan Beck, I mean, out of Stanford, we saw him when we went to the College World Series. I mean, this is a 23-year-old drafted in the second round, 55th overall by the Yankees. He was just one of the best pitchers in college baseball and just seemed like he could be a guy that wouldn't even need minor league baseball and could go straight up. But I don't know where to rank him. Like, I don't know exactly what he will become, because he topped out at 96 during the College World Series, but he's mostly in the low 90s. So I'm just like, I personally am just like, I don't know what to do with Brendan Beck yet. Maybe I just need to see more, but
yeah. Well, you know what I like about that is it was objectively a good pick.
Yes, we agreed. Such a good pick.
We thought that World Series game was over, bro. When they brought Beck out of the bullpen, we're like, oh, yep, good game. It's over. See you, Vanderbilt. And he was nasty, but and ran into some bad luck at the end. And we saw it's kind of special kind of implosion there. But for us to still feel the way we feel about Beck, despite that implosion, I think tells you how impressed we were with his stuff. He's got good command. He's got the pedigree. I was surprised he fell to the second round. I loved that pick by the Yankees. Another guy that I think is really interesting, not going to crack the top 10, but it'll be like a name to watch when we put it in there. I saw him a lot in the Cape, is Beck Way. Beck Way was another 5th round pick in 2020. He's a dude that never pitched. He was ineligible, was not able to play in college for 1 year. And then I think, he's in Division II Belmont Abbey. I don't think he even threw any innings for them. Somehow our man Pete Flaherty finds this guy, says, come on out to the Cape. And they're like, oh yeah, this guy from Belmont Abbey. And I'm doing all my prep work for, the games and for the season. I'm like, why can't I find his stats? Is there like a D2 site that I can find the stats? Or like, no, he didn't pitch. I'm like, well, what's he doing out here in the Cape? Super nice guy, by the way. Super
Cape
awesome.
Cod League.
And
the best players in the country.
Comes out there first game, just humming 96. And I'm like, holy crap. Nasty slider. In the early part of the year, summer, he was wild. And then just got better and better and better. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's barely going to throw in college. He's going to get drafted. He ends up committing to LSU, but then never makes it to LSU because the Yankees drafted him. So he barely threw in college at all. And I think he's going to continue to develop. I think he's really intriguing. He's got big time stuff. And that's a guy that, again, Yankees chasing the stuff over the pitchability, but he hasn't thrown it all. So I'm excited to just see how he develops. That's another name to watch too. The Yankees do a good job again of just getting themselves all these guys that have a chance to pop. They all have a chance to pop.
I like your analysis there, because when you said the name Beckway, I don't know if you saw my face kind of go, It's because I saw him just get blown up in Double-A. just blown up,
which makes sense.
But he was he had 2.68 ERA in high A. Like he was but then but small sample size, so I'm not just going to blame him. I was hoping when he made that jump to Double A that he would just continue to rise, and it's like, wait a minute, we have a real riser on our hand. But he did hit a blip. Not to say, like I said again.
Yeah, well, and that's why I think the context is so important, because it's like this guy didn't even throw in college, So now he's, I'm sure he learned a lot. He's going to come back next year in Double A, and that's going to be a really fun name to watch. So I'm excited about that as well. So we're going to get before
the top 10. I know I was naming some guys, but Everson Pereira absolutely has to be in the top 10. That's like absolutely has to be.
Might be in the top 5.
Might be in the top kind 5. So I'm not like worried about where you're going to put guys, because I know also we're going to have a conversation post this and really hammer it out, but it's going to be sick.
Just wait till Segur's number 3. I like the potential with both arms. He can back pick really over the first and third with either arm. It's nasty. Flips the glove off. Nice little throw over. Yeah, he was one of the only guys I think that didn't put it together in the Yankee system this year, unfortunately. But excited for this write-up. I'm excited to do these episodes every week, because as we start getting the deals going too, we're going to be talking about these trade packages. And I think Wednesday is going to end up being a big, I think we'll talk about all the trades. So I'm at this with Jack, but on Wednesdays, that's where we're going to dive into the packages, what, into the weeds on these packages when these deals start going through. So I'm excited. Hopefully it'll be 3 weeks in a row for you where we talk about Matt Olson, because the trade will happen in the next week. But the Yankees got themselves in a good spot here to potentially get him, and it'll be fun to talk about it.
Think about this podcast schedule. On Monday, you got Aram and Jack going through the weeds. On Tuesday, Jack and I went over our all MLB team. Well, on Monday, they went through Bobby Witt Jr., Arizona Fall League.
Steroids.
They went into the steroid debate, and then Jack and I went all MLB hitters, and then now we're talking Yankees prospects. Now it's on Thursday. We're doing all the pitchers, and then Friday, we haven't quite decided what we're going to do, but we might see some trades that we all got to talk about. So plan by ear, but we got you for 5 days a week this offseason.
And
tune in
the podcast show. It's amazing. And the podcast, you sent it today to me. We've debuted at 18th on the baseball podcast charts. So I'm like speechless on that. I mean, thank you so much to everybody. It's been so cool. It's been so cool to see this thing grow. And we love it so much. We added another episode into the week, and we're all ears always. Feel free to message, DM anything you want us to talk about on the podcast, even if it's not a mailbag announced. We're always listening and willing to talk about some things. We're always looking for ideas and feedback, and appreciate those that have left the ratings. That's always so cool to see those funnel in as well, and they help us immensely as well. We have hoodies that have dropped now, and merch that has dropped. We've got Not Gambling Advice shirts that are really fresh. We've got really good looking hoodies. We've already sold a bunch, which is crazy. I never thought in my life I'd be like, you better hurry up or else they'll be gone. Like, that always bothered me.
I know,
but they're actually going.
They're actually going.
I had to text Kendall and be like, make sure you save me a couple because I don't have one yet. But yeah, so the hoodies look great. The merch has been awesome, and we'll be giving away merch on Twitch as well too. So plenty going on, and a lot more to come, as well as a massive giveaway when we get to 100K on TikTok. We're getting up there as well. Make sure you check out our new Instagram as well. Peter, the handle, I want to make sure I say it right.
Just Baseball Media. We got it locked down. Or Just Baseball Fans. You know what? I'm not even going to pretend I know it for real, even though I'm literally on it all the time now.
I'll explain the difference. Okay, so with the two Instagrams to wrap up, so we can explain this to people. The Just Baseball Media account is going to have everything. Like, if some random dude gets DFA'd, it'll probably be on there. Like, every big news thing that's going on in baseball, that's where that'll be. The other Instagram that you might already follow, that's where we put clips of the show. That's where we put memes and stuff like that. So we have, the current just staying up with baseball over on the Just Baseball Media account, and then the Just Baseball show as well. Maybe that's too much Just Baseball for you. You can pick one of them, but we appreciate it if you followed both, and it'll keep you in the loop on what's going on in the baseball world and all the stupid things that we say over here. So speaking of, any stupid things to wrap up with, Peter?
Normally I have something stupid for you, but I don't right now. And I think we might just say, thank you, everybody.